Welcome to See You Next Tuesday. I'm Jade Chung. On today's episode, I'll be talking about mental illness. To be honest, I sat here for 10 minutes thinking about how I would start this episode. And the truth is, there's no thinking, there's no planning. It's honestly just doing. For this particular episode, it's just whatever that's going to come straight through the heart and right out of my mouth. This isn't a very easy thing to talk about. I believe that no matter what stage in life, you should never rule out mental illness. It could come early in your life. It could come during your teenage life. It could come later in life when you're a full-blown adult who's married and have children. I was very strong mentally. I learned to not be taken advantage of and learned to be super independent. I did learn lessons, and without those lessons, I definitely wouldn't be the person that I am today. I bet you guys are waiting for me to tell you how the wrestling business made me all crazy and how vulnerable I was or got taken advantage of. That's not the case. I actually suffered from postpartum. My son is now just over 2.5 years old. And I recently just realized that I'm experiencing postpartum. Mental illness isn't visible. It's very hard for people to really realize that there's an issue and you need to recognize it. I found out I was experiencing postpartum when I was scrolling through some posts on Facebook from a mom group that I'm a part of. This is a place where moms can share their stories, share their feelings without feeling any guilt, where they can feel confident in hopes of asking other moms for any advice. I was reading this one particular post where this mom was experiencing these visuals of hurting her child. Like she loves her child, but for some reason she was getting these visuals that was making her sick. I had a ton of visuals of Jet just being hurt, whether it be him falling off of something. It was just something in life that he would get hurt from. The visuals were just super detailed and very disturbing. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. Like, I love him to death. I love him. And I just couldn't understand why. I mean, I just thought I'm being a little protective. I try very hard not to be that helicopter mom, but to be that mom that walks beside him and can watch him learn. And if he needs help, I will guide him the right way. It was that particular post that made me feel like, oh, wow, I think I'm experiencing postpartum. Jet was born exactly 2 months premature, born at 31 weeks. I honestly didn't know what a NICU was. That's very embarrassing to say, but I had no idea what it was. To be in the NICU for a full month was very hard. Still to this day, I get pretty emotional about it. Having to leave the hospital without Jet is like somebody just ripping your heart out. Not being to hold him as often as I'd like. And to only be given certain times when I was allowed to hold him because he was hooked up to oxygen. He needed the photolite. It was very hard for a new mom. I'm sorry, guys. I need to take a break. Okay, I took a full 20-hour break and I'm back here. I'm ready to talk again. I guess it was just saying things out loud, it just brings back those feelings. I guess I didn't have a chance to really feel anything at the time. And that I mean that because I had to stay strong, not only for myself, but obviously for Jet and for my husband. He already had a trip booked to the UK. I can't remember if it was a week or two. You know, he obviously didn't want to go, but it was his first time over there, and it's an opportunity that he should not pass up. Jet was still in the hospital, so there really was no need for him to be home. There was no need for him to skip out on these opportunities when I'm super capable with the help of all the amazing NICU nurses. I felt comfortable to be alone. My heart just breaks for the NICU moms and dads where they've had to leave their kids for much longer. I've read stories of how it'd be years their child would be in the NICU, and my heart truly goes out to them. It's so hard. It was because that Jet was in the NICU, and you know what? He did really great in the NICU. He was so strong. The first 2 weeks of him being born was a bit rocky, but then after that, he passed every single test. He was so good. He was gaining and just doing really well, which I'm so thankful and so grateful for. I worried so much about every aspect of Jet that I translated it to me trying to give him the best life because he had to be away from me for so long. But I never realized I was going through postpartum until now. And he is just over 2.5 years old. I realized it just a couple months ago. If it wasn't for that mom posting on Facebook, I never would have realized it. I think it's very important that if you do feel comfortable talking about it, you should talk about it. You never know who you might be helping. Could be a stranger, could be anybody. That's why this episode is super important to me. I hope that it helps even at least one person to recognize their feelings, because that's an important step to helping you heal. I worried about everything with Jet, and I'm sure I annoyed my husband with it. I worried about his sleeping. I worried about his eating, and he sucked at eating. When it came time for solids, he just sucked at it. But I mainly think it's because I was so obsessed with having him exclusively breastfed that I think I waited too long to give him solids. Like, I didn't introduce it until he was 6 months. They say you can introduce solids as early as 4 months. But with the whole, him being born 2 months early, for the first 2 years of his life, you had to calculate his age with everything. So I would always have to say, oh, he's 6 months old, but his actual age is 4 months. I never knew if I should go by his actual age or go by his preemie age. As soon as he turned 2, I was so happy because then it'd be so easy to be like, he's 2, I can do this or that and that. But obviously, you should always go by your child's development. If you feel like he's ready, then go for it. Go by their cues. I was too worried about numbers and what was on paper just because I've never known anyone who's had a preemie before, so this was all new to me. I've cared for my 2 goddaughters and my niece since they were born, so I was totally ready to be a mom. I was totally ready to take on this challenge. But Jet basically said, I got a better challenge for you. I'm going to come 2 months early. Even though after Jet turned 2 and I didn't stress so much about his eating, because you know what? He's his own person now. He's able to tell me if he doesn't want something, if he doesn't want to eat, he tells me he doesn't want to eat. If he's hungry, he's going to say he's hungry. So I got over that hump and thought, okay, I'd be okay now. I'd be feeling a little bit more happy because I'm not worrying so much anymore. Not true. Again, I came across a post from another mom, and she posted these series of pictures where it talks about moms having a mental load. And apparently this is found more in females, and it means that we are just having to always remember things. So like remembering appointments, let's say for Jet, just remembering all the milestone appointments he has to make, all the booster shots that he needs, and And then for me, just knowing the weight where he should be at this age and just all that stuff. Even other things, remembering family events, remembering important school dates. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's overwhelming. For me, I never felt like it was too much. I guess I would just be kind of spaced out sometimes. And that makes sense because a lot of the times my husband will say, hey, I said something to you and you just have this blank look on your face. Are you choosing to ignore me? I'm like, what? No, I literally did not hear you because my mind is just racing and always thinking, okay, I'm done this. So what do I have to do next? Did I do this? Did I do that? Oh, I forgot to do this. And it's constant. My husband always says your mind is always, running a million miles. I'll go clear the table and then I see that the garbage needs to be taken out. So I go take the garbage out and see that I forgot to put clothes in the dryer. So then I put the clothes in the dryer and then on my way back out, I see a toy on the floor. So then I go to pick it up and so on and so on. So there's always something. There's always something. And it's just, there's always something to do. There's a mental load. You're thinking of something. And then when you go to do something, something pops up and you got to do it. That is a big stressor. I don't know if that'll ever be taken care of. I think that is a part of life. It's just something you do. I guess the point of that story is ask for help. I find, and this is from experience, I find that I'm used to wanting to do everything myself. I am a perfectionist, so there's certain things that I want done a certain way. So I just do it. And it's literally no problem because I'd rather do it my way. But then it becomes a heavy mental load on you. So I do have to keep reminding myself very, very often to just ask for help. And it's not easy. It's hard because when you're asking for help, you're kind of saying, hey, I can't handle this, which I'm learning that you can't have that mindset. Your mental health is super important and you need to take care of it. So you need to ask help when you need it. When I thought about doing this episode, I immediately thought of my two friends. They're a tag team here in Canada, which they deserve a lot of recognition because their work is just so amazing. Their name is Fight or Flight. They go by Gabriel Fuerza and Vaughn Vertigo. They have expressed their hurdles with mental illness. And when I reached out to them, they absolutely had no problem coming on and talking. They're both sweet guys with a lot of ambition, and I can't wait for you guys to welcome them in. All right, guys, let's get to it. The tag team of Fight or Flight, Gabriel Fuerza. I said that really weird. Okay, Gabriel Fuerza.
That's another story.
That's it. There we go. Fuerza, yeah.
Fuerza and Vaughn Vertigo. Okay, first of all, before you guys talk, Fuerza, I'm sorry. I've always had issues of saying your name and I feel awful. I would ask Josh to literally sit there and go through it phonetically for me before I would see you because I felt so awful. And being Asian, I'm really good with accents and stuff, but I couldn't say Fuerza. Well, there you go. Fuerza.
Listen, I'm going to clear it up for you and for all the folks at home. The trick to saying Fuerza, okay, is the letter F followed by where, as in where in the world is Carmen Sandiego.
Oh.
And then you
Clever,
add
clever.
za, like the end of pizza. Fuerza.
Fuerza. Oh my God. That's so easy. Josh, why didn't you think of this? He'll be listening, and he'll be laughing.
I love it when you came up with, I love it when you came up with Gabriel Fuerza, or your original name for was Ulysses, right?
Yeah.
Jordan was like, oh, I don't know how, nobody's gonna be able to spell that or say that.
Yeah.
You Gabriel Fuerza and
well, because he's like, why don't you name yourself Forza or something?
Forza, that's right.
And I'm like, I'm not Italian.
Yeah.
Like, what is it in Spanish? I'm like, Fuerza. He's like, okay, perfect. I'm like, all right, well.
But your first name was Ulysses?
Yeah, I did one. I think just one match as Ulysses, like spelt, like the Greek spelling.
What's the Greek spelling?
Ulyssess.
Oh,
it's like a god, right? Something like that.
It's just a king.
Oh,
I thought it had,
okay.
King. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to have you both on here, not just because you're my friends who are super talented, but because knowing you guys for a couple of years now, I'm just learning that you have your own personal hurdles. My first emotional and mental issue came after I had Jet. Like, I realized after quite some time that I was experiencing postpartum and still am trying to, you know, get over that hurdle, just figuring myself out. What kind of stumbling blocks prevented you guys from living your life?
Do you want me to start? Or do you want to start there, Vertigo?
I'll start because I feel like yours is a bit more, I guess, serious over the years.
Is it? Oh God,
I would say so.
All right, you go ahead then.
I mean, for me, it all stemmed from like general anxiety and panic attacks, where I didn't really want to go to university, and my parents kind of forced me in that direction. I was already wrestling training at that point, but I really just wanted to wrestle. But I went off to university and ended up having to drop out because I literally I couldn't eat for like a week. I was having several panic attacks. I think it was just overwhelming for me, and it felt like I had to make a decision for the rest of my life, and like I had to make that decision at the exact moment, and that was going to be my path, right?
Right.
I never, I guess, considered that things take time. Like, it's okay to fail. It's okay to drop out of university. I just felt like such a failure dropping out of university. So I ended up going back home, having to explain to my parents that this is something I can't do this. I'm suffering here. Which was ultimately the best decision of my life. I was able to I stayed home for a year before going off to college, just until I was more comfortable, sort of thing. But it was in that period I kind of learned what anxiety was and how it affected me, per se. Because it wasn't just like at home, it would even come into wrestling, per se. Like I think for as I can attest that sometimes before matches I'll get myself too worked up in my brain, and I'll have to run for a garbage can or something to throw up, because it's just it's so overwhelming over the years. And it's happened, it still happens to this day, not to as much of an extent, but every once in a while I'll still have that feeling. And I think it evolves from being an only child and always kind of being in my head all the time. So I just kind of have that worried sense of what's gonna go, what if this happens, is something's gonna go wrong. It's always that constant churning in my brain, sort of thing. But what I found kind of, I guess, overcome that was really just kind of distracting myself with hobbies, and just surrounding myself with things I like, essentially.
Right. So when you start to panic, what do you do to help yourself to kind of bring yourself back?
The first thing I do is I try to find gum or a Tic Tac or something like that, because I find that mint actually calms my stomach. For me, it's mainly a stomach thing, and so that's number one. Number two is, where's the nearest washroom?
Yeah,
I need to find a safe space where I can be by myself, sort of thing. Even if I still panic to this day, my girlfriend would be try to calm me, sort of thing. But I don't. For me personally, I don't want that. I just need to be alone by myself, sort of thing. So when it comes up before a wrestling match, there's not much you can do, and there's 5 minutes before you're supposed to go out. You just have to it's a lot of panic, but you're gonna be fine. That's kind of what I ended up having to teach myself, that what's the worst that happens? I throw up, and then that's it.
Right. So that's really interesting about mint. How did you figure that out?
I read a panic attack book, and it said mint usually calms the stomach. It's also I think it's kind of a psychosomatic thing, where it just kind of gets your mind off it, sort of thing. Like a Tic Tac, it's sweet. Mint is a nice flavor, so it just kind of distracts your mind, and then it calms the stomach. So that's why if you go to so you go to the Mandarin or stuff like that, they'll give you a mint at the end of your meal, because if you eat too much, you'll feel sick, sort of thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a nice little trick. How
did this impact your health? Did you not eat because you worried too much?
That was the main problem. Yeah, definitely eating. Friends would, say, hey, let's go for dinner with all these people that I don't know. And that would scare me to death, because I don't want to. I know for a fact as soon as I try to eat something, I'm gonna feel sick. So I would force myself to go out to these things to hang out with my friends, because I want to hang out with my friends, but I couldn't eat. Like I
Yeah.
had no appetite, sort of thing. Yeah, it's something you have to struggle with, but you know.
And do you know what exactly triggers it? Is it just like when your heart starts racing? Like if even if you're, let's say you're excited to go out for your match, is that what kind of?
Yeah, to a degree, it's just like that
Yeah.
excitement and I guess the fear of the unknown. Like I think the things that I don't necessarily have control over are somewhat scary sometimes.
Going back to university,
Mhm.
did you say that it happened after? Like, was this because your parents kind of pushed you to go to university and that you had to do this and you didn't want to disappoint your parents? And was it after you started university?
I mean, it happened to me kind of all throughout high school, but university was really what made me discover what I had.
Hmm.
It was really just the awareness that kind of opened my eyes to it because I thought back once because I ended up going on medication. I went to the doctor. They originally thought I had like an ulcer in my stomach, sort of thing. And they tried to rule it out that way.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was just generalized anxiety. And then when I took medication, it seemed to help. Whether that was a placebo or not, I'm not sure. But the thought that it was helping kind of helped. It's hard to explain, but yeah, I don't know. Like it just took time in like learning about myself.
And how long did you have to be on medication for?
I was on medication for about 9 months, and then I ended up going up to college the following year, and I was okay, but I was very nervous going to college, but for some reason it just felt different that time around. Like it was different as a 2-year program as to a 4-year program. It felt like okay, it's only 2 years, I can just get through this. And that time I knew I could quit at any time, right? Like
Hmm.
worst case, I lose a little bit of money, which nobody wants to lose money, but
Right.
um, having gone through the second time, it was a lot less stressful.
Wow. And you're still fairly young. So how long in total have you been dealing with anxiety and panics?
I probably since I was about 17, from when I debuted in wrestling when I was 17 to today. Like it's still a problem that comes up every once in a while.
And how many years is that? I don't know how old you are.
Doing I'm 25.
Oh
Doing
my
that
gosh.
math,
You're
so
only
that's
25.
something like that. Yeah. Oh god, that's 8 years. No,
8
sorry.
years. Yeah, 17,
Yeah, eight
right?
years. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, eight
Josh
years.
will be proud I did that math pretty quick. Um, okay, wow. Thank you for sharing your story. What's tough is hearing that you're still dealing with it. Even though you've had 8 years of already dealing with it, even when you do know yourself, it's hard to I'm trying to find my words here because I'm thinking about myself and my postpartum. Like I'm aware of what the issues are, right? But it's very hard to kind of come at it. It's hard to
Yeah.
let go,
Hmm.
or it's hard to bring it to action. And it meaning cure is not the correct word.
Yeah, because I think it is very hard to necessarily fully cure these things. Now it's not as prevalent as it was, when I was 17, 18.
Mhm.
That's also because I've had to teach myself to not take everything as serious as it is.
Mhm.
That was when school was very important to me. Like I wanted to make sure I had good grades and everything, and I needed to impress everybody. I needed to everyone's opinion mattered to me. So I just kind of had to
Right.
teach myself over the years that to just kind of relax and just let these things happen. Like there's a lot of things you can't control in life.
Right. And how about you, Forza? What were your hurdles in life?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna try to put it as succinct as Vertigo did there.
I don't know if that's
Um,
succinct.
it was pretty good.
Okay.
Well, in terms of like mental illness, I definitely have had a few sort of bouts with depression,
Mhm.
but it was something that I like typically didn't ever want to confront or talk about or even admit, really. Just mostly because my mom had really bad depression while I was growing up. And as a kid, you don't really understand it. You're just like, well, mom isn't going to work today, or she isn't doing this. She's sick. She's in bed, right? So you just think she's sick.
Right.
And as you get older, you start to realize, like, your parents aren't perfect. They're not the superheroes that you think they are, unfortunately. Um, and you start to see that they kind of have their own experiences, some of which are happy and a lot of which are really sad. And unfortunately, my mom had a really, really sad life. I just knew that by me telling her like, hey, listen, I have depression and I don't know what to do, I just felt like that would be the worst thing in the world that I could say to her. Not because she would not try to help me or whatever, but because like throughout her whole life, it's been the one thing that if she could, have a magic wish, that would be the one thing that she would change about her life and about herself. Like, depression is the last thing in the world that she could have ever wanted for me. And I mean, unfortunately, it's really it wasn't her choice, right? It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
anybody's choice. It just happens sometimes. I guess it started when my cousin died. She died really young and really suddenly. I don't really have much family, really anywhere, but I have no family at all in Canada. So she was living in Mexico.
Oh.
But
And how old were you?
I would have been either 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And well, she died when she was 18. So
Wow.
yeah, and it was just so sudden. And you know what? Normally, stuff like death doesn't really hit me very hard. Like, I've always been a very, I don't want to say detached, but like, it's kind of difficult for me to sympathize sometimes with
Right.
a lot of people and a lot of things. And it's weird because as a kid, I would cry over everything. Like, if I saw like an animal get pushed, I'd cry for the animal. If I saw a homeless person, I'd cry for the homeless person. I guess like I just had so much freaking emotion as a kid that like eventually I'm like, man, I'm just making life hard for myself and just kind of went the other way.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I ever did that consciously. It just happened. So, people would die in my family and I'd be like, damn, that sucks, but that's life. I think I had such a special connection with this cousin,
Mm-hmm.
and it's crazy because we didn't even get much time to hang out with each other. Like, okay, I'll tell a quick story in
Yes, please
regards to
do.
her
Yeah.
real quick, just to give like some sort of context, because I always say that she was my soulmate, and that's the reason it hit me so hard. And I don't mean that like obviously romantically. I just
Yeah.
meant
You
like,
guys were just really close,
yeah,
right?
and
Yeah.
and and it was always so easy. So when I was a kid, like, or a baby, and I suppose she would have been 2 or 3 years younger than me. So I would have been a toddler. She would have been like a baby. When we were still living in Mexico, she and her family, or her side of the family, had come over. Had a little get together with my side. And at the end of the night, when they were getting ready to take her home, she just started crying like crazy, and she like wouldn't stop crying. And she was always such a chill baby, so the whole family was like, "This is weird." And she just kept crying, and she kept saying my name, and they were like,
Oh.
well, I guess she just doesn't want to go because like she likes him, right? I think what ended up happening was they just couldn't get her to calm down, so they decided to spend the night. So I had to be moved, or no, sorry, my great grandmother moved into my room to sleep with me so that they could have the bed. So what happened in the middle of the night, I basically vomited and like died. And at the same time, and like, I'm not a religious person or like a witchy person. My mom's super witchy, but she had a dream that night where she spoke to God, and God was like, your son was only supposed to stick around for a little bit, but you love him so much that I'm gonna let him stay, and he's gonna be the one to take care of you when you're older. And like right then and there, she woke up and she heard my great grandmother screaming and yelling, saying, "The baby's dead. Oh my God, the baby's dead." So, she ran into my room, and she swears that I was like cold, pale, like she thought I was dead. I don't know if they ended up taking me to the hospital or if I like came to there, but basically, if my grandmother hadn't slept in the room that I was sleeping in, nobody would have known until morning. And
Wow.
I would have died for sure. I know my mom told me that story, and she's like, your cousin's special. Like, you guys have a special connection. You've always been so close. And the next memory I have with her is like 10 years after that, when I visited Mexico. And as a kid, I was just as mean as a scorpion. Like, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to make friends. Like, I notoriously, all my friends had to work to be my friend because I didn't want to be their friend. And my mom was just so nervous when we came back. She's like, don't be mean to your cousins. Don't be mean to your uncles. Don't be mean to these people. Don't be mean to those people, because I was a freaking jerk. And to her surprise, her and I got along so well. Like we were inseparable. My Spanish wasn't very good, and she couldn't speak any English, but like we figured it out.
Oh,
Um, and then the next time after that, I saw her. I guess she was around like 17 or something. Like same thing, like just so easy to get along with, and just in a way that I've never had that connection with like anybody else.
yeah.
Um, and I remember when we left, we were saying our goodbyes and hugging or whatever. And I'm pretty good at like, just hugging and saying, okay, see you in like 5 to 10 years when I visit you next time.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, like we were hugging and I just started crying like really hard. And she started crying. And it was just weird. And I didn't really know why, but I remember hearing when she was sick that maybe deep down I knew. So,
Wow.
yeah. So she got sick and I mean, it was weird because I remember hearing it and thinking, oh, well, sick doesn't mean anything, right? It's just people get sick all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just like sitting because I had heard the news while we were on our way somewhere. And I remember sitting where we were going and just like, again, like just crying and not really knowing why. And all of a sudden just being scared. And I think that was more or less what triggered it because when she died, well, my mom and my sister had gone to Mexico for the funeral. I mean, they had gone just before. Basically, her condition had gotten worse, and they knew she wasn't going to make it. So my mom and my sister went to Mexico to help out, say goodbye, all that stuff. And I didn't really have the chance to go. I had things going on here, and my papers aren't particularly. They don't make it easy to travel for me. So I stayed here. She ended up passing away, and I guess I just didn't really have anybody to talk to about it. My girlfriend at the time wasn't great
She
at.
wasn't supportive.
She was. It's just emotionally she wasn't,
Mm.
or rather, it wasn't even that she like didn't want to be. She tried to be, but she just wasn't, and that made it hard. I remember I think that's the least I've ever weighed in my adult life. I was like 130 pounds. I don't remember not eating, but I mean, if I look at a picture from there, it's pretty clear that I wasn't eating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember doing, I think, our first MCW show that same month. And I remember messaging the promoter and telling him, like, hey, man, just wanted to let you know that I had like a death in the family. I'm still making the booking, but if I'm, to myself, that's why. Like, I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he was cool about it, and I mean, he ended up bringing us back. But yeah, I definitely remember that being like just a real shitty time.
Yeah.
Both, I mean, both in wrestling and in normal life. Like, I think shortly after that, my dog died.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, so it was just, how it is. It's just like things happen in threes, like all these bad stuff started to happen all at once. Just really in the past few years, it's stopped, and now I'm pretty like not afraid of whatever's around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, there was her death. Then, like I said, my dog died, and that sucked. I think I knew at that point that I needed to like do a little bit of like a locale change. So I ended up moving out of my parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's just like I was just so sad, and I couldn't figure out how to say it. Like I was sad, but I didn't know it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, so that was my next question. At what point did you kind of just hit you and you're like, "Oh, I think there's something wrong." Like I don't think it's just me being sad anymore. I think it's something a little deeper.
I think I realized honestly when I ruined my own relationship. I had just become so angry, like my relationship with my girlfriend at the time.
Okay, yeah.
I had just become so angry, so difficult to talk to. Um, it just, I think losing a lot of things that were important to me at that time
Mm-hmm.
made me very protective over her. And it made me think, like, this is my salvation. This girl
Mm-hmm.
who I care for, she's what's going to keep me alive, basically. And that's not fair to put that kind of pressure on anybody. At the time, in my head, it just made sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was just argument after argument after argument. Everything was difficult. Everything had to be perfect. You know, if I were to, let's say, pick her up from work or something, and I don't know, like just the slightest thing happens where I sense that she's no longer happy, that would like drive me into like um just like a panic zone of like, oh, I'm fucking up right now. Like, I need to fix it. And the more I try to fix it, the worse I make it. You know what I mean? Because you're not thinking clearly anymore. Now it's just all about fix, 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 fix. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't realize that you're making things worse. You could have just let it sit because it's not a big deal. But in that mindset where I was like, no, I need this to be perfect, I ended up just making it worse. I mean, yeah, like I was wrestling this whole time as my relationship was getting worse, and just I hated looking like my relationship was failing. So
Mm-hmm.
like even whenever anything happened, I mean, we would break up for weeks at a time sometimes, and I wouldn't tell anybody. I wouldn't tell my best friend. I wouldn't tell my parents. I would just think I can fix this, and nobody has to know. And I remember even after we broke up for real, I didn't tell Vertigo, who is my best friend. I mean, I don't think I told him until 2 months later, maybe even 3 months later. Like, I was just so embarrassed, and I felt like,
Were you embarrassed that the relationship didn't work, or just the thought of, your best friend seeing you as a, I don't know, I guess like as a failure in relationships?
I think it's that I didn't want to look weak. Not many people have seen me cry. And I knew that if I were to have gone home and been like, hey, so and so and I broke up, I knew that it would be just crying, crying, crying. Like, I don't know if I guess that's just like uh like toxic masculinity, like, like I just didn't want to let my emotion out, and I didn't want to be honest
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know, I just didn't want to be vulnerable.
If you could do it differently, would you let yourself let those emotions out now?
I want to say yes, but honestly I don't know for sure. I find that I'm pretty private most of the time.
Hmm.
I don't think I was earlier in my wrestling career,
Hmm.
but I try my best to be pretty private about everything now. So I really don't know. I think I'd like to be. I'd like to be able to say, "Hey, I'm fucking sad. Like,
Yeah,
can I come over or whatever?" But it's just not that easy for me.
I get that. If you were on your own and you were sad, would you let yourself cry it out?
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah.
Because I was saying,
I
it's very important to not hold that in and to be able to express those emotions that you're feeling. And I totally get if you don't want to express it to other people. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You just need to know that that person is your best friend. Like Vertigo is your best friend for a reason. And he's your best friend because he loves you.
Mhm.
I mean, Vertigo, I'm not speaking for you, but
I do.
I
I do
know
not. Don't worry.
that I know that you guys are really sweet guys, and I just know that he cares for you to want to be there for you. You know, like, I don't know if guys like express this stuff to each other, but
Well, I mean, we were living together, and I mean, I definitely struggle with opening up, but I could tell that, you know, Ulysses was sad, but I didn't want to like bring it out of him. I just kind of wanted to like
let him do it at his own pace.
let him do it at his own pace. But I also wanted to be like, hey, let's play SmackDown vs. Raw. Like, I just wanted to be there to be like, hey, let's, like, as a distraction sort of thing, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, and that did help. I mean, like if I living by myself would have been, I mean, much worse. Like, unfortunately, you would not be there during the weekends. So during the weekends, I was like, man, like I'm just sitting here in this stupid room in this stupid house, and I hate my landlady.
Your
I
one
hate her.
stupid house.
Yeah, like I hate my landlady. I hate her kid. I hate everything that's happening. Actually, I remember. I mean, I wasn't gonna bring this up, but again, this is something. This is the third bad thing that happened. Basically, as my ex-girlfriend and I were breaking up, my parents were getting divorced.
Oh.
It's something that I had seen coming, and I don't really necessarily think that divorce is a bad thing.
Mhm. But still, to, you know, just like you said, you have this vision of, you know, your parents. And
Yeah,
again, going through the heartbreak of your cousin and then your dog and then your relationship ending. And now, you know, wow, you were dizzy. Like, I don't,
yeah,
that's tough. That's tough.
yeah. I think the toughest part, honestly, was, I mean, like I said, I wasn't telling people. So my mom had divorced my dad, and she wanted to meet with me to tell me good news. So you know, obviously, I'm like, okay, let's meet at this restaurant. And she tells me this great news, right? And she's like, so what's up with you? And I finally just kind of like spat it out. I said, we, you know, so and so and I broke up, and just immediately started stuffing Caesar salad in my mouth so I wouldn't start crying.
Mm.
But it just sucked because there was a good like 2 months there where I was just doing my best to help my parents out.
Hmm.
Because I mean, obviously, divorce isn't easy for them. But I just wanted to do my best to help, you know, with communication or you know, a shoulder to cry on, you know, whatever. And
Right.
I didn't want to be like, hey, I need help now because like I gotta help you first, and then maybe after you can help me, you know. So that was rough. I mean, in the end, definitely. I mean, I felt better after I told people. I mean, like you said, Jeff is a great guy, and I mean, he was super helpful. Like I remember when I told him, I remember apologizing for not telling him sooner, and I can't remember what he said exactly, but it made me feel really good that I had told him.
Good.
And the same thing with my mom. Like there were definitely a few nights where I felt like I couldn't be alone, and obviously I wasn't gonna text Jeff and be like, "Hey, I need you to come back to the apartment," because you know he's got his own life, and that's not cool. So luckily, at that point, I had my mom, who you know was just a hop and a step away.
Hmm.
So that definitely helped. Just having friends in general helped a lot.
I absolutely know how you feel about the events that you had to go through and then finding out about your parents divorcing. I went through something similar, so it kind of it hit home. I had broken up with my my very first boyfriend, my first love, and soon after that, my grandma passed away, and then in less than a year, my parents announced that they were divorcing. My parents didn't have a good relationship when I was growing up. I believe that I never asked them this, but I believe that they stayed married. I have an older brother, that they stayed married until I was old enough to understand.
Mhm.
Like you said, things happen in threes. So all that stuff, I wasn't in wrestling yet. And training was actually my outlet to get me away from it all. And thankfully, it helped me. Listening to your story, listening to Vertigo's story, I felt pressure too, because I was supposed to go to university, and my dad was working at the University of Guelph then. And so there was so much pressure with me going to that university. My brother went to another university, but it was a great university, and I had to follow his footsteps, which I never did. I graduated high school, and then I up and left and traveled for wrestling. Had I not have wrestling in my life, I honestly don't know. I don't know if I'd be the same person that I am today. And I think it's brave of you guys going through all of these hurdles, and and now, Fuerza, now are you still dealing with a bit of depression?
Yeah, definitely here and there. It's not quite as bad. I mean, the worst that happens really is I lay in bed all day. But even that, I know the signs
Mhm.
to look out for, so I don't really let myself. How should I put it?
Just get to that point, right? So now,
Yeah, I'll let myself mope for a day, 2 days, maybe 3 days, but after that, I know I'm just making myself feel worse by not doing anything. I gotta go work out. I gotta eat. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Even if it's just the most basic tasks, um, I just force myself to do them, and usually that helps me get out of the funk. I mean, I think everyone can relate to a little bit of quarantine blues.
yeah.
So yeah, I had probably a week or two where I was just sad, and I remember telling telling people I feel like I need to cry, but it won't come out. Nothing has happened that makes me super super sad really,
Mhm.
but there's just this emptiness kind of hovering around me, and I tried filling it with several things. That's what she said.
God.
you
There it is.
yeah, so the first thing I did was just work out, because that's something you can do no matter what, even if it's a few push-ups a day or a few squats, whatever. Thank God for wrestling and for, I mean, the healthy lifestyle that it's kind of introduced me to.
Mhm.
Because I say this all the time, I hate working out, hate dieting, I hate everything about it.
Yeah.
The only part I like is looking good, but that's kind of hard when you're already so depressed and kind of down on yourself, that
Yeah.
you're looking in the mirror and you're like, meh, I could afford to lose a few pounds, or my arms could be bigger, stuff like that make it difficult. But yeah, just at the end of the day, I tell myself this is what you have to do, and it, I don't care if you don't like it, you got to do it. It's just discipline. That's how I keep kind of my head above water lately.
Yeah, and you mentioned, the pandemic doesn't help. Do you both find the pandemic has put a lot of weight on you guys?
Yeah, definitely. um, I mean, if you want to delve into it, I mean, for me, personally, when the pandemic hit, I was literally in England and Germany. I literally got on a plane.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And I was there for 2 weeks, and then I had four weeks left on my tour, and I had to come home, and it was just I got on a plane and went through a portal, and
Mhm.
everything shut down, and then I come home, and then I do videography for my real job, and I can't even do that, right? So I definitely felt that just sit around, I don't know what to do with myself. But for me, what I found personally helped was going for a walk every day. Thankfully, I live outside of Toronto, so I was able to walk by the river every day just to kind of clear my thoughts, sort of thing.
Now, I remember when you were in the UK, I think they were ordering all Canadians to come back home, right?
Yeah, that was it. Was we were over with the Smash Wrestling crew, but it was Brett and I who were going to stay for an extra 4 weeks, and we're sitting there watching the news saying, all Canadians have to come home, and our flights are booked for like April 12th. And we're like, oh God, what are we gonna do?
Right. So tell me, what were you guys thinking? What were you guys like, oh, let's, just kind of wait and see
Well,
how this goes, or
yeah, it was pretty much day by day. We pretty much just had to, like, we had two options. We stay and ride it out, or we go home. We stay and get stuck for who knows how long. And thank God we didn't stay, because wrestling didn't happen. And if there wasn't wrestling, I don't know what I would have been doing. Um,
right.
So yeah,
So
thankfully
they
we
ended
both got
up,
a flight home.
sorry, they ended up canceling their shows over there?
Yeah, so it was the same time as everything got canceled here. Was that March 13th, 14th, 15th weekend?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we, I think we got out on like the Thursday, and then actually Brent was supposed to leave the Wednesday, and then he showed up and he had the wrong ticket, so we had to.
Oh my
In
gosh.
typical Brent fashion, text me and say,
Wow.
"Hey, my flight's actually tomorrow. Where are you?"
Wow.
And Brent's not good at directions, so
I love laughing at that guy, and
He's
especially
my
to
favorite.
his face, because
Yes, I know. He's ridiculous, but I kind of like grew up idolizing him in a way at Squirt Circle, because I was 14 and I was like, wow, I want to be like Brent Banks when I'm older. And then getting to travel with him has been a very interesting experience.
And then you got your license, and guess what? You're not like him. You're even better than him.
Okay, I'm not going to talk bad
No.
about Brent here.
No. Brent's my boy. Boy.
Yup.
Don't worry.
If you don't like Brent, I don't know what's wrong. Something's wrong with you.
Fuerza, how about you? I know you kind of spoke loosely about the pandemic. You did have outlets. You were able to work out. You built some stuff at home. You built some stuff with your dad, right?
Yeah, like
Oh, yes.
build is like a stretch. I basically just like tore some old garage door springs and put them on the end of like a bar. Basically, it's literally just like
That's creative.
Very creative.
It just looks like trash, but yeah.
But it does the job, right?
Trash still has weight,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I just don't want to say that I built anything. I just kind of like what's the word? Salvaged some heavy looking garbage.
You recycled.
Recycled.
Yes.
That's a good word.
Yeah. See?
Yeah. So I recycled, and made a little gym. That was fun for the first little bit, and then it started to get cold. God, my timeline is all messed up with this.
March 2020.
All I can really remember is thinking, okay, the world's gonna shut down, so I need to somehow make this match that I'm supposed to do today into a gauntlet match, so I can have as many matches as I can right now.
Right.
And secondly, I was like, I need to get some heavy trash to lift while I'm home. Besides that, I was just kind of like, well, I guess we'll see what happens. And 1 week turned into two turned into 4, months turned into almost a year now. Yeah. I'm a very solitary creature, so like I can be alone for the most part and be pretty okay. Mm-hmm. I moved back in with my dad after the divorce and after all that cleared up. Because like I said, I hated that stupid basement. Poor Jeff had spent all his money just to live there half the week with
just
me.
My savings.
Yeah.
Oh,
but to be fair, I had intentions of working in Toronto for work, but it didn't really pan out. So
yeah. So I'm like Jeff, I'm gonna go back home. I hope you're not angry with me. And he was like, no, man, that's great. I gotta go back home too.
Yeah.
So I ended up moving back in with my dad, just to keep each other company. My sister and my nephew ended up moving in with us as well. So now we got a full house. So I can either just hang out in my basement and ignore everybody, or I literally just gotta walk upstairs and somebody will come bug me. So that's been good. Honestly, the worst part for me had nothing to do with the pandemic, really. Like, it happened during the pandemic. Technically, the pandemic itself hasn't been like the worst thing in the world for me. Mm-hmm. Just like I injured myself twice this year, in pretty preventable, stupid ways. And I remember,
are we talking about your shoulder?
Okay, so
or your elbow?
It was my elbow. So I dislocated my elbow. I remember, like, it happens, and I'm like, okay, you're an idiot. but like, you wrestle the match, and then afterwards the whole real world starts kind of crumbling in. And I start thinking like, oh well, you don't have any money. What are you gonna do for money? You got to
Mhm.
take time off work. You got to do this. And I remember I did cry a little bit while nobody was looking, but it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't because it hurt. It did hurt, but I was just like, damn, like just when I thought I was gonna like pay off all my credit card debt and all my debt, like that was my plan for 2020, to
Mhm.
pay off all my debt. I was just gonna work like a horse and get it all over with so I could stop worrying about it. And then, like 2020 happens. Luckily, for the most part, I was still able to work. And then, I hurt my elbow. And I'm like, great, there goes all the money you just saved. That ended up healing up pretty well. And then late December, I went to train. And
Oh no.
yeah, so I should have quit while I was ahead because I decided to go off the top rope, as I like to do, just for fun, because I don't typically like to actually do anything off the top rope when I wrestle. I just like to be agile. So I tried to do a little front flip, over rotated, and 450 splash, which I've never done in my life. That should have been the sign to change my clothes and go back home. But instead, I decided to try a shooter to my feet and just over rotated by just a touch and ended up breaking my ankle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't know it was broken at the time. I was just like, oh, I landed hard, and then I kind of limped out of training, and then I went to go deliver T-shirts to somebody in like some part of Hamilton. Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say, I swear every time you've been hurt in a match where I've been around,
Mhm.
I've never noticed you were hurt. Like it's
Listen.
never been relayed to me. The ref should tell me, but it's never been told to me. That was more the tag match and previous
that is
things.
true.
But, oh my god.
Yeah.
You
I
always
don't know.
play it off like it's fine. I'm like, ugh.
I'm a professional.
You are a professional. I agree, but I need to know.
I thought you knew. Because
No,
I mean,
nobody told me.
I guess you and I don't really interact as a tag team in the sense, like it's not like we're both standing on the apron at the same time. So,
Yeah.
so it's not like I'd be like, hey, I hurt my elbow.
Wait, but did you tell the ref you were hurt?
No. Okay, so what happened was it popped. And then Shane Saber and I, who were in the ring, looked at each other, and
Hmm.
he looked mortified because he heard it.
Oh.
I probably looked mortified, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I think so." And I like lied back down, and then I like sat back up and said, "I'm gonna tag out." And he said, "Okay." So I tagged out, and in my head, I thought, "Okay, since I'm tagging out now, he knows that I'm hurt." But what I didn't realize is, in my panic, that's when I was supposed to tag out anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
so it just looked like a normal tag, right? So I guess that's why I thought it was relayed, and it turns out nobody bothered. I don't know if anybody told Space Monkey either, because I swear to God, he was shooting on me.
It's not even just this. This has happened before in a tag match with Hacker and Steve Brown, where we thought you were hurt. Like Brad told Hacker,
Oh, yeah.
but your shoulder was hurt. So we did this like 10-minute heat sequence on me, and we're
Yeah.
looking over, and you're in the crowd, like I don't know, you're standing up on chairs, like yelling at people.
Yeah,
And we're like, is he hurt? Like I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was
We're doing
totally
this long
fine.
heat.
I don't know who. I must have taken something weird, and maybe Steve or Kurt
Somebody
thought
misheard.
like, yeah, thought like, oh, he must be hurt. Because I was literally like, man, this is the longest heat ever. I'm gonna go into the crowd and do something there because they don't need me to wrestle anymore.
I'm looking over, I was getting beat up, and you're like in the crowd. I'm like, I think he's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, I just hurt myself a lot, and I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, you gotta slow down. And like, I guess I'm not as young as I thought I was, honestly.
How is your ankle now?
It's okay. I can walk on it. I can like spin it around. I can't run yet, but we'll get there.
No more top rope shooters for a long time.
He's gonna do that again. Come on.
Normally,
A big show? Hell yeah.
well, yeah, because I mean, the shooter. If you belly out, you can't hurt your ankle bellying out. You're good.
I think
Well,
you still could somehow.
Okay, you could, but I won't.
Fair enough.
Even with the pandemic, you guys didn't waste any time creating Backyard Pro. Was it both of your ideas?
Well, the way I remember it is Vertigo had bought a spiffy new camera, as he does, and he was like, "Hey man, I got this new camera. Come over and we'll shoot dumb stuff. And
That's pretty much what it was.
and that's pretty much like
We
That's-
shot like
yeah.
the first like highlight backyard wrestling match in like April or something, or May, I don't know.
yeah.
It was just like a Twitter thing that
Yeah.
did pretty well. And then I started thinking like, hey, Brenda, do you think we could do this as a show? And then that evolved. It was supposed to be like a serious like backyard wrestling show originally, like when I put like the like Twitter video out, and then that evolved into like a comedy wrestling show essentially.
It was so good. Like I loved seeing everyone play a character that they're not. Like
Yeah.
The dancing weapon. Like
Yeah.
Oh
That's a Forza creation.
yeah.
I don't
I've been sitting
even
on that one.
I don't even see him like that. And then all of a sudden he's the dancing weapon. He's wearing my lace pants that I used to manage in early in my career.
Oh, I didn't know you wore those. Okay.
Yeah, they were my
That makes it that much
pants.
better.
Yeah.
Did you guys come up with all the characters for everyone?
No,
definitely not.
Some people came up with their own.
We had like a group chat at one point where everyone was kind of pitching ideas and sort of things, and then some of the creative characters we came up with for other people. But a lot of it, like I wanted it to be organic, and I wanted people to just kind of have fun with it, right? Because there's nothing happening, and I just wanted to try something.
You guys did a season 2. I loved it. It was so nice to, especially for Canadians, because we have 0 indie shows here.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to just get our minds away from this pandemic and actually watch something, not only, our friends' creation, but just out of pure entertainment and laughs. I loved it. I enjoyed it. And, a lot of people are asking, and I had Alexia on my episode 2, and, she even wants another season. I know I want another season. I want to watch it because I think we're going to be in this pandemic for even longer. I also had other fans wanting to ask you guys, is there going to be a season 3? What are your thoughts? Is there going to be one? Or you're just kind of feeling it out?
I think it's inevitable that we have to do one at this point because my whole goal with this was that I bought all this equipment and I wanted to prove that production is so important to a company, where myself making this crappy, like creating all the content for this crappy backyard wrestling show can do better than some of the local promotions. I just had this chip on my shoulder to show people that if you create this content, people will come, sort of thing. So I think it's inevitable that we do a season 3. It's just a question of I need it to be the right circumstances where we're not in lockdown and we can do it safely and there's not snow on the ground.
Yes. I completely forgot it was winter right now.
And I want to make sure that everybody is paid for it because it's completely fan funded, right, for the last ones. So so we'll have to do that at some point. And then, I've definitely we've all had ideas in our head since when we released it in August. But back then it looked like things were getting better. And I thought that, wrestling was kind of coming back and I was getting more work. So it was a little more busy for me personally. But yeah, I think it's inevitable that they'll do a season 3.
That's great. See, I think that's what everyone wants to hear. Awesome. We're going to play rapid fire.
Oh no. Okay.
But I'm going to name a move and it's
Mordecai. Is it Mordecai?
It's a simple move.
Okay. Are we going to do this at the same time?
You can if you want.
Oh boy. Okay.
Okay. Drop kick.
Randy Orton.
Or Orton. Damn it.
You guys are definitely best friends.
We're best friends.
Super kick.
Michaels.
Yeah. A choke slam.
Kane.
Wow. Okay. Now, no pressure, but now you guys have to have the same answers for the next 4.
Oh, no way that's happening.
Just kidding. Well, maybe this one, DDT.
I was thinking Jake the Snake too.
Neck breaker.
JBL.
Gregory Helms.
Ooh.
Oh. Moonsault.
Lita.
Jade Chung.
Oh. I hate you.
Lita's good.
Power bomb.
Batista.
Nice. Wow, you guys are like pretty much in sync.
We're a real tag team,
Something like that.
I remember once actually, like very early on to our little wrestling career, Jeff had brought his girlfriend and somebody went up to her and they're like, hey, aren't you Fight or Flight's girlfriend? And she's like, yeah. And they're like, wow, you guys really are a tag team.
Oh my God.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to turn to some fan questions for you guys. So on my Patreon, I let them know who's going to be on my guests, and I let them have a chance to ask questions.
Cool.
Describe each other in one word.
Oof.
Oh God.
Like I'm describing him, right?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I thought of a word that came to mind immediately, but I want to think if I can think of a better one.
I mean, I would say grumpy, but that's kind of rude after all this.
I don't mind
that or motivational, because I always find that like when you tell me something good happens for you in wrestling, I'm like, okay, I need to do something that's good.
Okay. Well, the first word I thought it was creative. Asshole.
We're on here too long. We're gonna start getting angry with each other.
It's gonna turn into a you shoot.
I'm surprised we haven't just taken over the show at this point.
Who picked Danger High Voltage as your entrance song, and why?
I don't know. I mean, I thought
okay. See, I'm pretty sure you introduced me to the song, but I was not aware that I think who used it. Was it Spanky or
Spanky? Yeah.
Or yeah, I didn't know Spanky used it. That might have changed my mind, but at this point, it's way too late. But yeah, I feel like you introduced me to it, and then I think we collectively decided to use it.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, because we didn't want to do the whole like tough guy thing because we're not tough guys.
And also, I feel like everybody in wrestling is trying to be like this tough guy, right? And like when we're like both, under 150 pounds, like what do we, at the time?
Okay, how did Candy Kids form?
Oof.
Oh my God.
Candy Kids, Jeff Vertigo, Gabriel Fuerza, Lexi Nicole.
In a sling for 2 months.
In a sling for 2 months. We kicked her out after.
Sure. Not like she got healed and then we didn't have anything for her with us.
Who came up with it? Jordan, who runs
Square
Lucha.
Well,
he runs Lucha TO now, or Demand Lucha. It was just one of his many gimmicks. He seemed to have like an endless list of gimmicks in his back pocket for all his students.
I mean, I recall that we were told there was a TV show coming, and they wanted us to be like the hip tag team that appeals to teenagers.
I remember that too.
They said we were going to be like ravers, and I think the three of us were like, "What? We don't party at all. What is this?" Which is ironic now because I feel like we're joke party guys now.
Yeah, it's really come full circle. Because at the time, I remember we were like, "Oh, what's a rave? Well, have you ever been to a party?" Because I mean, like Jeff mentioned earlier, like he had his reasons not to go to parties, and I had my reasons to not go to parties. But yeah, now we're literally a rip off of the Candy Kids.
But like the hot rod loser guys.
Yeah, now we know we're lame.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at all, guys. I love the name Candy Kids. Like I obviously didn't see you guys as them, but I think it's catchy. Did you know?
It took us like 8 months to embrace it. We embraced it way too late. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I literally remember we were in his apartment, and for whatever reason we were like, you know what? Let's just go all in.
This is true. I have a video on my phone.
Like,
we came up with a handshake.
Yeah, we're like, we'll just do what we want to do, and yeah, it was just we came up with a stupid handshake, and we were like, we'll kind of be like superheroes instead, but like, and then I think we were the Candy Kids for like another month or something.
The men's first circle closed, and then yeah,
yeah.
How does I think this is Fuerza? Have you been to the UK before?
I have not. Well, not to wrestle.
Not to wrestle. Okay. Well, maybe you even know. How does the UK wrestling scene differ from the Canadian and American scene?
Just generally everything's bigger per se. That's how I felt. Like just like the small family shows, like they have like lights in production, and like the shows have like pyro. Some of them have like little like sparklers. Everything just feels bigger, and then the crowd's just a lot more boisterous and loud. And they have like their soccer chants and whatnot. So those are fun.
Oh yes, love that. The worst travel story, wrestling or non-wrestling related.
Oh my God.
I feel like
God.
we have that tag team one from the C4 one. That one's fun.
Oh, I think that's the best one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell it or she tell it?
I think you tell.
Okay.
I just puke at the end of it. That's what I remember.
Okay. We had C4 on the Friday, I believe, or on the Saturday. So we drive up to C4, probably by ourselves because that's typically what we do. Especially because we didn't know that people were getting their cars paid for at the time.
Yeah, exactly. We're going for free.
So we went up to C4. We were gonna do a pre-show match against the Brotherhood, and I don't think we knew that the winners would get added to the main show later in like a tag team title match or something like that. So we have our match with the Brotherhood. We did a spot like a classic Hardy Boys spot where you go for the Whisper in the Wind, catch the guy, and then power bomb him on the guy who was kneeling. So Jeff had gone to do the poetry in motion. He got caught, and he got power bombed onto me, who was still
no, other way around because my shoulder got messed up.
Right, other way around.
We should have done it the other way.
The point is he got hurt. Yeah. The point is his shoulder got hurt. So then we go and we have this main. I don't know if it's the main event or main show, but we have this
main show.
Yeah, we have this 4-way tag match with TDT, I think EYFBO.
Yeah, so Santana Ortiz and then Greed and Vega, or Greed and Tarek.
Was it Greed and Tarek or was it Private Party?
No, Greed and Tarek. It was Greed and Tarek. Private Party was later.
Okay. Point is, a bunch of guys who can all murder us, right?
Yeah.
And I remember they were putting the match together, and they're like, "Sorry, guys, but you guys are taking the heat. It's you're the only team that can, and consider this your welcoming onto the main roster." And they beat the tar out of us. I wouldn't say they necessarily took liberties or anything, but just like rough wrestling. It's C4,
I got my eardrum blown out. Like I went to lock up with Santana, and he slapped me in the ear, and it was out for like a month.
I forgot about that.
Then we got beat up for like 10 minutes essentially after already wrestling earlier in the night.
Yeah.
And I think we took the pin probably.
Of course we did. So we get our asses kicked. Still a great day. I remember
it was great.
Thinking like, wow, this is the best day ever still. But then we had to drive Pinky Sanchez with us because we were doing a show called Abaddon in Toronto the next day.
The rebirth of UWA.
That's right.
Oh.
And this whole show was very interesting because the promoter had like contacted both of us like months prior and was like he wanted to talk to us and like kind of interview us almost. And I remember once I was in school and he literally is like, "Can I call you?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm on lunch." So we just talked for an hour. I can't remember a single thing we said, but he was just a really intense guy.
Phone calls.
Yeah. We get into Etobicoke, where Jeff was living. Probably like 6 or 5.
Yeah, typical like C4 time when you get back. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just barely get in before the sun comes up, if that. And I remember Pinky got stuffed onto a chair, like a lazy boy kind of chair, and immediately passed out.
Yeah.
And then Jeff and I had to share his like double
tiny
bed. Yeah.
I sprawl out when I sleep.
Oh
so
my
this
God.
guy Fuerza real angry.
He sleeps like a starfish.
Yeah.
And I don't like being touched when I sleep. And it's not because he's a guy. It's because I don't like being touched when I sleep. Like,
yeah, we've slept in enough beds at this point.
Yeah, like I literally cocoon myself in blankets no matter where I sleep. So this man's touching me. I'm too hot. I can't sleep. And he can't sleep because I'm there. And I remember like Pinky's totally asleep and the two of us are just like, fuck, like I can't sleep. Oh God, what are we gonna do? Like
we had to get
tired.
up at 8 a.m.
And then like all of a sudden it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. We had to get up at 8 a.m. to go and help the promoter set up the venue. Right? So I remember
Pinky.
We're sitting in bed and we're like, who's gonna wake Pinky? And he's like, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do it. I can't remember who ended up doing it, but yeah, we're just like, Pinky, wake up, we gotta go to the venue. And he's like, oh, why so early, guys? We're like, we're helping with the venue. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. I'll call the promoter and tell him that we'll be there later. And since we're like fresh into the business, and this is our first time ever working for this guy, and Pinky had already been around forever, so he could do whatever he wanted. But we're like,
And we were legitimately paid to do ring crew on that show, so we like had to be there.
Yeah.
And he only wanted specifically like 6 people to set up the ring.
Yeah, like he wanted like a close knit group of people
Yeah.
for some reason. He didn't want anybody to run off with his turnbuckles, I guess. So I think we ended up taking Pinky with us.
So he did get up?
He did,
yeah.
but as soon as we got to the venue, he like lied down on the carpet and fell asleep for like another 8 hours.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Legit like 8 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing skill.
Yeah. So we get there and we're like, okay, what do you want us to do? And he's like, well, first I got to build these scaffolding so that we can raise the chandeliers.
This is the Lithuanian Hall in Toronto, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm immediately like, oh, okay, this isn't what I was expecting, but I'm open for it. Let's do it. He builds the scaffolding. Blah, 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 blah. He tells us to climb up, and good God, it was so high. Like I remember standing up on the scaffolding at the very top, nothing to hold on to, and I literally could not bring myself to stand up. Like I was on all fours, just like looking over the edge and seeing like, man, if I fall, I think I would die. Like I think I would just explode.
Yeah, it was so unsafe. And I was like I was scaffold below watching you do this, and I was like, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah. So I think I told him, I'm like, hey, I'm scared. Can I go down? And he's like, oh yeah. Go down one. So we went down, and I think Jeff and I were helping him raise the chandelier.
You had to like tie it up higher so the lights could fit or something. I don't know, something weird.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I didn't realize, but one of the bulbs had gotten caught on my sweater.
Oh no.
And so when he pulled it, the bulb burst, and I was on fire.
Literally caught on fire.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Jeff's literally like, oh, you're on fire.
And while we're on top of the scaffold.
Yeah, luckily it went like out almost immediately.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And I really can't remember what happened too much in between, but like the CZW guys they were the guys who were mostly making up the card. They slowly started arriving, and they'd be like, "Hey, where's Pinky?" And I'm like, over there. He's dead under the bathroom sign."
Yeah, we were both booked on the show. I decided I was too hurt, so I was like, I'm just not going to do the show.
Yeah,
which was probably the best decision. But you still did your match with Joey Janela.
And like we finished building the ring. I think some people started helping with the ring, so I don't think we did too much more in terms of like traumatic things. But
I mean, the ring was propped up by carjacks, but for the sake of time.
Oh my gosh.
We'll glaze over that part.
I was gonna get to it. I remember so another wrestler that I had met previously, Latin Dragon, at C4 actually, like a few years ago. He had messaged me and he's like, "Hey man, I see that you're on this Abaddon show. I'm gonna be there early if you want to train some lucha." Obviously, at the time, I'm like, "That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Like, when else do I get the chance to do a little bit of lucha?" Come to day of, I'm horrified because I'm so tired. I haven't slept at all.
Yeah.
I still feel beat up from yesterday, and I was just caught on fire. But obviously, I'm not gonna say no to the guy if he wants to do some lucha spots, right? So we go in there, and I'm like, "Okay, what are we doing?" And he starts like flipping and passing by, and like, do a backflip, and then I'll catch you, and then arm drag, and just like really like difficult aerobic things. So I think we did it like 6 times in a row, just trying to nail it. And he's like, "Can you go again?" And I'm like, yeah, let's keep going.
Oh,
So I'm just like blowing myself up. And finally he's like, "Okay, cool. Like I gotta go get ready." I'm like, yeah, me too.
You know what? Not to cut you off, but I was kind of cringing because I was like, "Oh my God, did you just hurt yourself again?" But okay,
no,
good.
I'm actually like not accident prone at all. Like, I've got knocked out once at C4, and that was it. Up until this year, like this year is cursed. That's why like I'm being extra careful now.
Last year is cursed.
Last year, oh no,
not this year.
I mean, this year might be cursed too. You don't know. Gotta be careful. Okay, so did the spots with Latin Dragon. He says that he's got to go get ready. I go with Joey Janela, who I was meeting for the first time. We put the little match together. And he wanted to do like this crazy like power bomb onto the apron off like the second rope or something. And like I've been doing the entire day, I'm like, yes, that's fine. And Psycho Mike, who was hurt at the time, was hanging out, and I asked him, I'm like, how would you take this? And he's like, I wouldn't. But if you have to, and he went and felt up the ring and found the softest part and like showed me how he would take it. So he's amazing. But long story short, he ended up convincing me to just not take it. So we changed it to a clothesline, which I forgot actually kind of knocked me out. So I lied earlier, but I finished the match, which I've never seen to this day. And then we had some burritos because the promoter had brought in like a burrito guy.
The Abaddon burrito, yes.
Abaddon burrito.
It was a real hit.
Yep. We decided to leave. I think we told the guy like, hey man, like we're pretty beat up. Is it all right if we go? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. So we went, we stole some burritos, and yeah, then Vertigo threw up, poor guy.
Well, it was just like, it wasn't, there's more to that, but yeah, we got back to the car and like we were holding the burritos. I think my friend Trevor was there. He was helping film the show.
Trevor was there, yeah.
And like we're just getting in the car, loading everything, and I'm just like stressed, and I'm just like, oh, I just threw up on the sidewalk in Toronto.
Just like a little cherry on top.
Cherry on top. And
was it because you just had no sleep?
I think so. It was that, and just like a combination of probably not eating enough during the day.
Oh yeah.
And I was hurt and in pain, and it was just a huge combination of things. And then I believe we slept in the same bed again because I can't remember why. You couldn't go home or something.
I think. Yeah, I don't remember why. I think we were just too tired to deal with.
I just remember my roommate Trevor had to keep waking Fuerza up because we thought he had a concussion.
Ah, yes.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much how it ended.
Yeah.
You blacked out a bit from the clothesline?
I honestly don't really know. I think he just gave me the line and like I bumped my own head.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I remembered the match, but everybody said like my emotions were totally blank. Like I was just going right through the motions. So that's why I kind of want to watch the match to see.
I don't know if that footage will ever come out. Who knows?
So no, this was UWA? Is that what you're saying?
It was Abaddon, which was like the same promoter as UWA.
He was kind of bringing it back under a new brand, essentially.
You should ask, if you really want to watch it, you should ask Gigi.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He knows the guy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, true.
Maybe I will then.
Maybe.
I mean, I love watching old matches.
Okay, for our final game.
Oh no.
All right.
It's Survivor Series time. So with you guys are going to choose your dream tag team Survivor Series team.
Whoa, hold on. So you mean 10 people?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
I don't watch tag team wrestling.
Jesus. Are our teams facing each other?
No, you guys are on the same team.
We have to create one together?
Oh, together.
Together, yeah. So
okay.
Like four other teams.
The Bashams.
No Bashams.
Look, man, come on. The Bashams.
And you guys have to agree on it.
Okay. My first pick is I'm gonna say the Usos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna deny that, I guess.
Okay, I mean, so Bashams are not part of it, right?
Well, because if it was up to me, I would have like a team of like Mordecai, the Bashams, like all these like awful like 2004 guys. So it's not up to me.
We can include one lame team.
One lame team? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
What about Rated RKO?
Oh, okay. Yeah, Rated RKO is cool for sure.
Okay.
How about John Cena and David Otunga? No, I'm kidding. How about New Day? I think New Day honestly should fit on that.
Okay, New Day. I'm looking at my wall of wrestlers right now. Let's see if it helps.
I get my WWE encyclopedia out, wherever that is.
You know what? What about Rey Mysterio and Edge?
Ooh, okay.
It's a good one. But wait, Edge is already on Radar.
But what about Benoit and Angle?
I thought Benoit and Angle too. Let's do Benoit and Angle.
Well, hold on. So we have the Usos can be our high flyers.
High flyers and the quick guys. I just said quick 3 times. We got our
or maybe New Day's that Usos are like our boots nominees.
My New Day configuration is Kofi and Big E. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that's fine. That works for me.
All right. Rated RKO. got our heels, and yeah, Kurt and Benoit could be our freaking grapplers.
They're the ones who are left standing. Let's leave it to that.
Yeah, they're
They don't
Iron,
go in there.
our Iron Men.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And guys,
Good
this is why they're a tag team. This is why you
Compromise.
guys are amazing. You guys thought of you guys hit all the fields. Like you guys just made sure you guys were all around.
I mean, I
Powerful
really
team.
tried to derail it, but it didn't work.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being part of my podcast. I appreciate you guys getting real personal with me. I know that it's hard to talk about, and I hope that anyone listening who may relate to either Vertigo, Fuerza, or even myself can find their voice if they haven't already. I hope this episode has helped at least one person. Do you guys have any advice or anything to kind of leave off for anyone that's struggling right now that's listening?
I think it's just very important to really learn about yourself and know that if you are struggling, it's okay. Like I mean, I definitely felt like there was something wrong with me, but not to say that there wasn't. But I needed I think I needed somebody to tell me that it's okay. It's going to be okay. Like it's going to be fine in the long run.
Yeah, I would say just remember that, like no matter what has gone on in your life and the decisions that you've made, that doesn't make you a bad person inherently. But a lot of people make a lot of stupid decisions and say things that they can't take back. And that's just life, unfortunately. Emotions are so uncontrollable sometimes. And people say mean things. And, I mean, the best thing you can do is apologize and hope that that you can make it right in whatever the situation is. Or even with yourself, if you think you've made some sort of stupid mistake or some sort of like boneheaded decision, it doesn't define you. It's just one little moment in your life, and at the end of the day, it might be for the better.
Guys, thank you once again for coming on. I really appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
That does it for episode 4. Until then, see you next Tuesday.